Hello, I'm meteorologist Ted Keller. Let's take a look at the severe weather risks as they exist for the next several days. Starting with, of course, today, the Storm Prediction Center has increased the risk area in central Missouri. It is now at a level 2 out of 5, which is still referred to as a slight risk of severe thunderstorms, and a pretty broad area of marginal risk that extends all the way up into the Great Lakes states and all the way down into Texas. That's the green area there. Breaking it down by severe weather threat, and this is interesting because this shifts around in the threat area. So, for example, the tornado risk, and it's a mild one, a 2% chance of a tornado within 25 miles, but still a risk nevertheless, from central Illinois up into southern Michigan. So that would include Springfield, Illinois, Champaign-Urbana area, Lafayette, Indiana, up to South Bend, Fort Wayne, barely in that, Kalamazoo, almost up to Detroit. Those are all in that 2% tornado risk area. So that is something that is possible. Also, if we break it down by hail risk, and of course hail has made the news lately, that actually shifts. So the highest chance for severe hail, and remember, severe hail is 1 inch in diameter or larger. That exists in central Missouri, and that's been pretty consistent the last couple of days. So right along I-70, but it also would include Topeka in Kansas, but Kansas City, Jefferson City, Columbia, Springfield, Illinois, Hannibal, Quincy area, all in that severe risk area. That's the probability of any hail in diameter 1 inch or greater. A new criteria that the Storm Prediction Center has put out is how intense will the hail be? And this is interesting because these do not always coincide. So what this map is showing you is that the best chance for any severe hail is still up there in the yellow area. It's a lesser chance for hail down along this area, but if it were to occur, it would be more significant. In other words, this hatching means 2-inch hail is possible. So again, they don't always coincide, and it's interesting. So you have a lower risk of hail, but a higher risk that it'll be larger out here in Kansas and Oklahoma. If we take a look at Nadocast, this is a learning machine model. It also produces hail forecasts, and I'll show you that next. But it does agree with this tornado assessment to a certain extent. 2% chance there in central Illinois from St. Louis up I-55 basically, and maybe just south of Lake Michigan there, south of Gary. And the hail risk, though, that they paint is twofold. There's one around Kansas City that extends back along I-70 to Topeka, Lawrence, up into northern Missouri, and also another one just around the St. Louis area. And that actually has their version of what is significant, which is that little hatched area right there. That's a 10% chance of 2-inch hail or greater. And we have all kinds of learning machine models now, of course, at our disposal nowadays. And this is another one. This is Colorado State University. It puts a tornado risk in that same spot in Illinois, but also brings it back into northern Missouri a little bit. The hail risk is centered right around the Quincy, Hannibal area. But at least there's a 15% chance of hail meeting the criteria that extends down into that area that the SPC outlined as having significance. And then the wind risk is not real great, but it is up at 15% from central Missouri into central Illinois. Okay, so that takes care of today. Hail, the main threat, I would say. Tornadoes can't be discounted. And so let's take a look at Tuesday now. The Tuesday risk now is at a level 2 out of 5. It does include extreme southern Missouri and also most of Arkansas, Little Rock, down to Dallas. Larger area of marginal risks, that's the darker green surrounds that. Let's break it down by risk type. So tornado at a 2% chance, probably half of the Ozarks, at least the Missouri part is in that. All of the Ozarks, if you consider the Arkansas portion of that, is in the 2% chance. The pretty broad brush area. That goes from southern Illinois all the way down to Dallas once again. If we look at StormNet, this is yet another learning machine model. It wants to put the tornado risk at its highest, which looks like it's somewhere in the range of 10 to 15%. In this area here, this would be from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., so it might be an overnight risk for some areas here in Arkansas. It would include Little Rock 2, Hot Springs, Poplar Bluff, or Pine Bluff, and Conway. That's for Tuesday now. I do see some guidance, including some of the HRRR guidance that wants to put some supercells right there. That might actually include, or at least have the cells start around the West Plains area. tomorrow, late in the afternoon, almost toward dark, actually. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. Might be storm chasing in this broad area tomorrow. We'll see. The CSU model does have the tornado risk at about where the SPC has put it, and hinting at it getting into southern Missouri there. Hail risk at 15% from western Arkansas down to Dallas, and the wind risk in about that same area. And if we see what the SPC has to say about the severe hail risk, they put it at a 15% chance from southern Missouri through that same slight risk area down to Dallas, inferring that they think hail has at least as equal a chance, if not greater, than a tornado in this scenario. And they put the wind, severe hail risk, at greater than 2-inch hail from Little Rock down to Dallas. That's that hatched area. So again, I'll be presenting those more to people because the SPC does have that new category now. Severe wind risk, that's 59 miles per hour or greater. Same area as the slight risk for all practical purposes. The reason why things are upped a little bit on Tuesday is the jet stream's a little more cooperative, providing more flow here at 500 millibars going into this area. So the basic risk area was right here. So we can kind of see these upper level winds kind of moving into this area with enough instability. Now let me show you this. It's interesting because this builds during the evening. So on Tuesday, late in the afternoon, I think that's when I grabbed this. Yeah, 21Z, it's 4 o'clock. The Cape, which is an instability measurement, doesn't quite get up into this area, but the wind shear is already pretty good there. So I'm guessing that somewhere between, let's say, 4 and 7 and maybe later, the instability just might have enough time to creep up into this area into a more favorable low-level wind field. That's why the tornado risk is hanging on there, even though the instability is showing that maybe it's not quite going to be up to snuff. I happen to think there's enough error in the models that that's why the outlooks were made the way they were. Then on Wednesday, this whole thing shifts south, southern Arkansas, east Texas, big chunk of Louisiana, central Mississippi, includes Jackson, Birmingham, Pine Bluff, Arkansas, Shreveport, Tyler, Texas, all in that two category out of 5. As far as the tornado risk is concerned, it actually maximizes in northern Mississippi at a 10% risk. Hail and wind are both in that same area right in the heart of the SPC outlook. If I take a look at the tornado risk from StormNet, it puts it at its highest. Hattiesburg, maybe Jackson, Mississippi, maybe over to Meridian, Tuscaloosa, and Montgomery, all big cities in there. So that's all on Wednesday. I'll keep an eye on that. Getting kind of far out. That's day 3, but we can go more. Let's go to Thursday. This whole risk area shifts to South Mississippi, South Georgia, small chunk of South Carolina. Then we take a break. And the weekend is still kind of up in the air. Now, yesterday, Saturday, had some probabilities worth looking at. Now it's Sunday. And again, the longer out into the future you go, the more uncertainty starts creeping in. But at least Sunday is something to watch, maybe for Oklahoma, Arkansas, southern Missouri. And finally, we'll cap it off with NIU's forecast for just supercells. So it breaks it down still by this. This is where the better moisture and flow is. And this is where fronts will be visiting over the next 7 days. They're going to go to the May 11th through the 17th. Again, a lot of signs of the jet streams providing cool, stable air there, but not in the extreme south, especially Texas, and maybe some evidence of some front range mountain activity there. That gets even more pronounced later in May, 18th through the 24th, where the supercell composites are showing maximums in the Texas Panhandle through parts of west Kansas and up into Nebraska. Thanks for watching today's edition of Severe Thunderstorm Outlooks. This is published every day after the morning Storm Prediction Center update. Also, remember to check that site off on day 1 because they update it fairly frequently. If you like this video, please like it. Also, you can subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.